Good morning, this is Dwayne, and today I'd like to do a flyover of chords. As you know, there's a zillion chords, but today we're going to do a flyover so you can see the overall picture. In other words, if you came to, say, the Rogue Valley, where I live, in southern Oregon, and you were dropped off downtown Medford, say, unless you were familiar with Medford, you'd be lost. You wouldn't know how to get anywhere. You'd just see buildings and houses and streets and so on, but you wouldn't have any idea of the overall layout. However, if I took you up in an airplane and flew you over the Rogue Valley, and then specifically over Medford, then you would get the idea. For example, you would see, as we were flying over Medford, you would see the Cascade Mountains to the east, where Crater Lake is and Diamond Lake and that beautiful area up there. And then off to the west you would see the Pacific Coast Mountains, and on the other side of that the Pacific Ocean, of course. And you would see up north, you would see I-5 running up north towards Portland, and if you look south you'd see it running down towards California and Mount Shasta in that area. And then as you flew right over Medford proper, you would see I-5 going right through Medford, and you would see Main Street crossing I-5, and then you'd see McAndrews down here. And after about an hour of looking at the streets and the lay of the land, then if I landed in downtown Medford and dropped you off, say, at the corner of Main and Riverside, then you'd have a pretty good idea which way to go to get, say, to the airport or wherever you wanted to go. Okay, you get the idea? It's the same way with chords. This can be confusing. If you're new to music, that can just be scary. It looks like a monster's teeth looking back at you. How do you know what's what? How can you tell that chord, which is very simple, from a very complex chord like that? Well, we're going to take an overall view today. First of all, chords are made out of scales. A scale is a ladder of note that runs from the root note, whatever the root is, and up to the octave, octavo. And the word scala comes from a ladder, from the word la scala in Italian, which means the ladder. So we have a ladder of notes that runs from the root note, whatever it is, up to the octave note, 8 notes higher. Okay, and so if we played a scale like that, we could go up as high we could go to the top of the keyboard, or we can go down to the bottom of the keyboard. Okay, so a scale is simply a ladder of notes, and there are major scales that run like from C to C, and there's major scales that run from B to B, and major scales that run from B flat to B flat. Let me play a major scale from B to B. It's not the same as C to C, because C to C is all white keys. If I play from B to B, we use all the black keys, and the reason is this. I'm going to show you the reason now. Because every major scale is made out of a whole step, another whole step, and then a half step, and then a whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. A whole step is where you skip a key. Okay, you always skip a key in between. Okay, so that's a whole step, that's a whole step, because we're skipping a key. But that's a half step because there's nothing in there but a crack, you see? Okay, so the formula for major scale is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. In other words, 2 whole steps, then a half step, then 3 whole steps, then a half step. Okay, now that's easy to see when you're playing from C to C because it's all white keys, but it's not so easy to see if you play from B to B. If I play from B to B but use all the white keys, that doesn't have the same sound, does it? And the reason why, that's not a major scale, because a major scale is whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Okay, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, half step. Okay, so that's a B major scale. If I started on B flat, I'd have to go whole step, half step, whole step, half step. Okay, so now you can understand when you play in the key of B flat, you're dealing with different notes than if you play in the key of B or the key of C, right? It's based on the scale of that particular key. Okay, now I could go through all the scales and show you that, but that would be overdoing it. So I'm just going to back off here. Once you know a scale, what a major scale is, then if you take the root, third, and fifth of that major scale, that makes a major chord for that key. So that's C major chord. If I played the B scale and then take the root, third, and fifth, that's B major chord. If I take the B flat scale and then play root, third, and fifth, that's a B flat major chord. If I take the A scale and then take root, third, and fifth, that's an A major chord. If I take A flat, that's an A flat major chord. If I take the G scale and play root, third, and fifth, that's a G chord, and so on. Okay, I could do it with all 12 major chords, all 12 keys. Okay, but that'll suffice for now. So once you know what a major chord is, then you can make a minor chord out of a major chord simply by lowering the third. So that's C minor. Then you can make a diminished chord, diminished three-note chord out of a major chord by lowering the third and the fifth. Okay. Now we're going to have individual video lessons on each one of these, so don't worry about learning that now. We're just doing a flyover, remember, so you can get the idea, the overall picture of it. To make an augmented chord, you raise the fifth of a major chord. Okay. So far we have major, minor, diminished, and augmented. Now we can extend that chord by adding a 6th degree of the scale to a major chord or to a minor chord. So that's C6, that's C minor 6, or we can add a 7th. That's a 7th. That's called a dominant 7th, a flatted 7th degree of the scale, and that's called a major 7th. There's two kinds of 7ths, a dominant 7th and a 7th. And again, we'll have individual lessons on these, but you get the idea. And then you can have a 7th, you can have a minor 7th, you can have a minor major 7th, you can have a diminished 7th, you can have a half diminished 7th. There's all kinds of things like that, the chords that you can make. Plus, you can make 9ths, 11ths, 13th chords, flat 10ths. You can have polychords, all kinds of things. And what's true in one octave, see, it's true all over the keyboard, right? That's the C chord that I'm playing there, but I can play it down here. I can play it over. That's a B chord. I can play it anywhere. B flat. Okay? No matter what style you play, whether it's classical or pop or jazz or rock or whatever, you know, it's all true. Okay? So that's the flyover of chords. Now, let's go to my newsletter, and I want you to see what that looks like on paper. So let's go there right now. Here we are at the newsletter, and I do want to encourage you to sign up for this free newsletter. I think you're going to absolutely love it because it covers chords of all sorts, including, of course, the ones we covered today. This is the issue about flying over chordland before we land, and it always has an audio component. And all you need to do is click on that button, and I walk you through the contents of the newsletter. Let me just play just a tiny bit for you.
Good morning, this is Dwayne, speaking from the Rogue River Valley of beautiful Oregon.
Okay, that gives you an idea. And then we'll, the content of each newsletter is different, of course. This talks about flying over chords and getting an overall view. Talks about the 12 major, minor, diminished, and augmented chords like we just talked about, and how you can turn them upside down, the inversions of the chords. So please come down to the bottom of the page and do fill in your first name and email and hit that little button, and you'll be signed up for our newsletter. By the way, to get to this page, go to the bottom of this video, under the video, not in the video, but down below, you'll see a link. And click on that link, and that will take you to the same exact page. And when you get to the page, go down to the bottom of the page, right here, and fill in your name and email and sign up for the newsletter. Because, like I said, it's free, and you're going to love it. So thanks so much, and we'll look forward to talking to you soon. So bye-bye for now.